If you challenged him to a duel with pistols at dawn, he'd show up with a machine gun, body armor, and then he'd berate your corpse for being a bad shot. That's how Adam approaches competition. So I wasn't that surprised when Adam showed up to our track test in a brand new, fully loaded 2017 GT350. But that begs the question, what would it have taken to beat the GT350? As it turns out, the answer was $211. On the same tires, the GT350 is just less than 1.5 seconds faster than the Z06 at the National Corvette Museum track. The goal with the skinny tires was to keep the tire to weight ratio equal. On the 245s, the Z06 carries 3.17 pounds per millimeter of tread, to the GT350's 3.165 pounds per millimeter of tread, giving the GT350 a 0.15% tire advantage. That's a little misleading because the Pilot Supersports and the GT350 have basically non-existent rain grooves because they're a bespoke tire. When Adam and I first saw the lap times, we were sure that the gap was due to the power advantage of the GT350. But we were wrong. The in-gear acceleration is nearly identical. The GT350 does accelerate harder at lower speeds, but that advantage disappears and then reverses. Even with a 10-mile-an-hour advantage for the GT350 as the two cars roll onto the back straight at Road Atlanta, the Z06 gets to 146 miles an hour first. It's worth pointing out that Adam's synchro-crushing pips are worth a couple of tenths at least. Who knew that a warranty could lower lap times? The wider front track and narrower rear tire have exactly the result you would expect. The Z06 has one and only one handling characteristic: massive oversteer. From turn in to corner exit, the front tires are doing no work because the rears are constantly sliding. The lack of rear grip hurts the Z06 mid-corner, but it's corner exit where the GT350 makes up all the time. The best example of this is turn 9 at National Corvette Museum, an off-camber right-hander, where the loose balance of the Z06 forces me to short shift to fourth to make it easier to modulate the power, whereas Adam stays flat to the floor in third gear and lets the computer sort out the traction for him. Now the Z06 does have traction control, but you have to turn it off with the little 245 rear tire because it gets so confused it's borderline dangerous the way that it cuts in, and it makes it impossible to do a fast lap. You could easily cure the balance of the Z06 with an adjustable sway bar and allow it to use all four tires to their full potential. At Road Atlanta, the results were similar, but with a slightly bigger gap because the 8250 red line of the Mustang allows it to hold third gear for almost the entire track, whereas the Z06 requires two upshifts and a downshift. Now, we tried some big fat Continental DW Extremes that only proved what an amazing tire the Michelin Pilot Supersport is. 21% wider, but only slightly faster, the DWs did manage to carry more corner speed, but their extra diameter and weight killed acceleration, resulting in only marginally faster lap times and the worst handling car I have ever driven. The fair way to run this test would be to start out with brand new tires, set the alignment, and then do our usual testing routine of one full day looking at data, setting tire pressures, and then set a flying lap the next morning in ideal conditions. Unfortunately, we only had one day, and these tires already had 40 plus heat cycles on them. My very first warm-up lap was the fastest of the day. The time to beat was 1:41.11. Adam's best lap over the course of 2 days in the GT350. My one and only flying lap on the worn-out R-Comps was a 1:41.17, 0.06 of a second slower than the GT350, which is well within the margin of error for two amateurs like us. Considering the circumstances, there is no doubt that both cars left time on the table, but I would argue the Z06 left more time on the table. A fresh set of 315s on all four corners instead of the 295 front that we ran, and the Z06 would destroy the GT350 and probably be too fast even for a GT350R. So for a third the cost of a GT350, you could walk it on track. And lastly, thank you so much for putting us up over 170 subscribers. We are honored that all you guys, and at least one girl, enjoy listening to our ramblings about cars, and we hope you'll stay tuned for next time when we compare the costs of putting these two beasts on track. Thanks for watching.